Class is now in session. I am Professor Hockey, and today we'll be discussing the game between the Sharks and the Jets, in which the Sharks lost 5-3. And this was the first test that the Sharks have had in a while, really, against a strong playoff team, and not just a playoff team, but one of the best teams in the entire league, a team that now leads the Western Conference after their 2 points tonight. And the Sharks actually performed rather well, even though they did end up losing this game. They got a lot of shots onto Hellebuck. Hellebuck had to be, very strong as a goaltender for the Jets. And the Sharks really kept up in pace with a team that is very strong. It was relatively healthy even. I think it was only missing one player for them. And so the Sharks actually gave me some signs of hope, even in a loss, even if the Sharks didn't get the full 2 points. The first period started off pretty insane. There were a couple of penalties called, both for slashing on either team, that brought the game to 4-on-4. And so the first goal of the game was scored by Byfuglien, a terrible giveaway by Brent Burns at the blue line. Byfuglien with the breakaway, nice shot by him. Evander Kane comes back, still 4-on-4, nice shot by him on a 2-on-1. Then it became 2-1 Sharks with a power play goal from Pavelski, his 22nd of the year. Then it became 2-2 with Ehlers' goal. Then it became 3-2 with, of course, first career goal by Mason Appleton. Then it was 3-3 at the end of the second period when Jonas Donskoi scored, before it went 4-3, 5-3 late in the third period when Ehlers scored twice. I guess he kind of scored twice. Ehlers actually ends up having a hat-trick in this game, and what was one of the weirder hat-tricks of the season that I've seen. I mean, the first one, he gets a lucky bounce, basically not shooting on anybody in the net, so basically an open net, gets the goal there. The second one, Jones very far out of the net. He's basically shooting on a couple of forwards who are standing in the crease. Open net, basically. And the third one, he doesn't even take a shot because he's awarded the free goal, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought was actually the incorrect call. I'm pretty sure you only get the free goal when you draw a penalty, when you're in the offensive zone, and it's basically like a sure thing that you're going to be able to score. But not only was Ehlers not in the offensive zone, he gets taken down in the neutral zone near the blue line, but also the fact that he's racing after this puck. So while Ehlers is a very fast person, and it seems as though he was going to have the step onto Erik Karlsson, I wouldn't say that's a sure thing, so I'm surprised that the goal was rewarded. However, the Sharks down a goal shorthanded in the last minute of the game against the Jets power play. It was unlikely they were going to tie the game, but I guess they had a better chance than if they were down as they were 5-3, even at even strength. First thing I'd like to talk about is Martin Jones, and I'm sure a lot of people are very critical of Martin Jones. He gave up 3 goals in the first period, similar to the Chicago game, although not of similar caliber. The Byfuglien one was a breakaway, as I said. Appleton one was on a bad defensive play in the zone. The Ehlers one was an unlucky bounce, so nothing was really on Jones. But where a lot of people are very angry at Martin Jones is the 4th goal by the Jets, the one late in about 3 minutes left in the third period. It's a giveaway by the Sharks. Pavelski ends up giving it away. Mark Scheifele walks into the zone. Jones comes out to challenge him, and then Scheifele hands off the puck to Wheeler. So Jones has to react here. He tries to follow Wheeler outside of his crease. He's sort of sliding around, gets taken out by Justin Braun, gets pushed further away from the crease. Wheeler just hands it off to Ehlers, who has the easy open net. And so I don't really see this as much fault for Martin Jones. I feel like, you have to challenge the shooter. That is Mark Scheifele when he comes in. He passes it off to Blake Wheeler. You try your best to try and follow him. So I don't think it was really that much Jones's fault. I think it looked a lot worse than it was. And I can understand why people would be upset with the goal that he lets in. I don't think it was played perfectly, certainly, but I also don't think it was some sort of terrible goal by Martin Jones, super soft, what is he doing, everything like that. It ended up being an okay game for Jones. He made a lot of very key saves. Of course, the save right before Jonas Donskoi ties the game up in the last 5 seconds of the second period, a beautiful save on a 2-on-0, basically, between Mark Scheifele and Ehlers in front of the net. He kept the Sharks in the game after they fell behind 3-2, as the Jets, while the Sharks dominated the majority of the second, the Jets got a lot of very good chances in the second period when the Sharks sort of dropped the ball defensively. Next is Brent Burns, and if we're talking about someone who I did not think had a very good game, I'd first point to Brent Burns before Martin Jones. I mean, Burns, in the first period, his play was just abysmal. He gave the puck away to Dustin Byfuglien. He played it very poorly on Appleton's goal, which was the 3rd goal for the Winnipeg Jets. And it wasn't even just defensively where he was making these big misplays, but also offensively. it's not too common to see Brent Burns get every shot blocked. He always has a ton of his shots blocked, but it really seemed like he struggled tonight to get the pucks through to the net. I think a ton of his shots actually end up getting blocked or deflected wide and things like that. And so Brent Burns was struggling defensively. He was struggling offensively. It was not a very good game for number 88. Next is Evander Kane, and on the flip side, Evander Kane had a very successful game. He got the goal here. He had the assist, which was a very nice assist on Jonas Donskoy's goal. He had multiple opportunities to get another one past Hellebuck, although Hellebuck was quite strong. And I guess it was maybe the feeling of playing against his former team, really where most of the Evander Kane drama stemmed from, was his time on the Thrashers and, of course, then the Jets when they relocated. And once Kane moved to Buffalo, it was a bit less in Buffalo, and it hasn't really been much in San Jose in terms of drama. People saying Kane has matured, but it just wasn't going well in Winnipeg for him as a player. And so maybe he had some sort of vendetta here against the Jets. He wanted to get some vengeance, some revenge. He played a very, very good game, and Kane is a streaky player. He seems to show up in stints. He had a very good period once he was picked up by the Sharks at the deadline. He started this season pretty well. Then he had a large chunk of games where he was mostly invisible. He's been a lot better in the past few games. He was very good tonight, and so it's nice to see that Evander Kane's playing at a solid level. Next, of course, is Erik Karlsson, and I've said this before. I basically said this last game, but Erik Karlsson has just been superb. He gets another assist, which continues his point streak. I believe that's up at 7 games now. And a lot of Ottawa fans in the offseason were saying, well, every time Erik Karlsson's on the ice, he can make something happen. And I was like, oh yeah, they're definitely exaggerating at that point. The Sharks picked him up, and I was thinking to myself, okay, now let's see that. And at the start of the season, I felt validated basically having seen that Erik Karlsson, yeah, he was making a couple nice plays here and there, but it was not that great all around. But I mean, in the past game and then tonight's game as well, Erik Karlsson just seems to make something happen almost every single time. Maybe like every other shift, he's getting some great passes through. His stick handling, his puck handling is off the charts. He's making some very nice plays to break out of his own zone, something we were not seeing earlier on this season. So it's just another fantastic game for Erik Karlsson. I'd say he has supplanted Burns at this point as the best defenseman on this team, just sort of all around, just because Karlsson's defensive game has been so solid for the past few games. His offensive game has also been quite good, even though Burns' offensive game has been normally quite good as well. But Erik Karlsson has just been doing it all basically in these past few games. The final thing I'd like to talk about is, of course, the ice at the SAP Center. It was very bad today. The puck was, tonight I guess I should say, the puck was bouncing around everywhere. It couldn't get settled at all. The first period, the second period, it was just bouncing around everywhere. That's why it seemed like it was such an open first couple of periods, and you saw they came into the third period, the game was tied, and I feel like the message from both coaches were to stop trying to make the fancy plays where you get a bad bounce and it goes the other way. And that's why really in the third period, every single play was basically dump the puck in, maybe go in for a forecheck, send like a couple guys in there, or go off for a change, send the puck in. And it's basically why nothing much major happened for the first 15-minute chunks of this period. Yeah, there was a couple of chances one way, a couple of chances the other way, but it was basically just which team would make the crucial mistake first. It was the San Jose Sharks, of course, who make that mistake and allow the Jets to get that game-winning goal from Ehlers. But the ice was just abysmal tonight. And I'm sure if I haven't seen any post-game interviews from either team, I would not be surprised if anyone were to mention that. In general, the Sharks are not known for the best ice. Of course, they play in California. The weather sort of prevents that, but it hasn't seemed to be too much of a problem so far this season. This is probably the first game where I've really noticed it being pretty bad. But that will do it for this review. The Sharks will be back in action on Saturday against division rival, although not much of a rival this season, Los Angeles Kings. Of course, they're the, last place team in the entire league at this point. That will also be a matinee game as well. So the Sharks will get an opportunity to try and get the 2 points. As I said when they faced off against the Blackhawks, those should be some relatively easy 2 points, as they sort of were. These ones against the Kings, you never want to count out the Los Angeles Kings, but they should also be some relatively easy points. However, I guess maybe I shouldn't be saying that. The Sharks just lost to the Winnipeg Jets, and in the Jets' previous game, they lost to the Los Angeles Kings. So maybe this is some sort of great comeback from the LA Kings. But Sharks, it's a division game, and even though the Kings are very far behind, it's still technically a 4-point game. So the Sharks do need to be prepared, especially since it is a matinee game. Class dismissed.